All right, so welcome everyone to my first Q&A. A little rough start here, but hopefully we can get going. So basically what this is an opportunity for you, the viewer, to get to know me a little better, to ask me any questions you might have, just to get to know me a little better, because everything that I put out is sort of one directional. I do obviously respond to your comments in the videos, but this is a good time for us to interact and get to know each other better. Not just me personally, I guess, but you want to know about my woodworking or anything in my life, feel free to ask any questions you might have. If you've never done one of these before, uh, apparently I haven't hosted one before, so I have some problems with that already. But if you haven't done this before, if you're watching over on YouTube, head over to the event page on Google+. That'll allow you to actually ask questions and see all the questions that are currently in the queue, and you can vote them up, so you'll actually get time to answer them. I'm hoping to have this run for about half an hour, just to keep it somewhat brief, and then as soon as we're done, we can wrap it up. I also have my wife here behind me. She's going to try and keep me on task, hopefully. We'll see how that goes, but I'll get started. Tyler, I saw in the last room you had asked a question about the table saw blades. I use both a crosscut and a rip blade independently. I don't have a combination blade. I've never used one. I just have those dedicated blades for each different task. And they work really well. I get absolutely perfect cuts on anything I use. If I'm doing a rip cut, it's perfect, and it's pretty much, with that blade at least, it's ready to go right to glue up, basically, because it's a glue line rip blade. And the crosscut blade has absolutely no tear out or chip out on the cut at all. So that's why I use those two. Okay, I had some questions that were submitted beforehand earlier this week that I'm going to run through here. The first question was, how big is my shop? My shop is a two-car garage. It is 20 by 22, so that's about 420 square feet. A couple more questions here. Tomas asked me, how much time can you spend on woodworking per week, and do I have any other hobbies? The summertime, or the time that we're kind of in right now, is kind of my slower time for woodworking. I don't usually spend as much time out here as I do in the winter. In the winter, I'll probably be out here, I don't know, maybe 40 hours a week or so, and I typically get a lot done in that time. I don't really have any other hobbies besides woodworking. I used to be really into photography. I guess my other hobby is making wood or making lumber, so that's kind of cool. They go kind of hand in hand, though, so I'm not sure. I don't really have anything that's totally different from woodworking, I guess. Thomas also asked, what do I do to make my time well spent and effective when I'm actually in the shop? That's pretty easy for me. Most of the time when I'm not in the shop, I'm thinking about being in the shop. So as I'm thinking about that, I'm thinking about what things can I do and what processes do I need to go through to achieve a certain part of a project. Most of the things that I build are, they're larger projects. They take me weeks or months to complete. So as I'm thinking about the project throughout the day, I kind of have an idea, like today I'm going to go down and cut this piece of wood to fit in, like if I'm doing a drawer, I'm going to go fit all the drawers into the openings, and if I have time, I'll start doing the dovetailing. But then I know, like, the next time I go down there, I'll be down there dovetailing, so I have that in my mind. I'm going to go through those processes. I need these machines, I need these tools, and I'm all ready to go. And then as far as a little bit more on the efficiency side, I put a lot of effort into keeping my tools tuned up and having the right tools for the job. So that allows me to go through processes a lot faster than, I mean, you can get a lot of things done with minimal tools, but the trade-off with the minimal tool approach is you're going to invest more time into your project, which is fine. But if you have the means, it's definitely more effective to spend some more money and get some quality tools to get the job done faster. Because for me, it's a hobby, and my time out here is limited. So I don't want to be spending my time fiddling with something to get it to work right when I wasn't really intended to do a job properly or as good as another tool or something like that. And the other thing with that too is your actual skill as a woodworker, being able to be out in the shop and being able to go through those processes quickly because you've done them before, you've had a lot of practice at those tasks. So a good example of that is, well, for me, I do a lot of dovetailing. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a slow process, at least in the beginning, but as you get more proficient, you've done it more and more times, it's really just the same thing over and over and over again. And with that repetition, you get a lot more efficient at doing those things. So practice and tooling, I guess, is the most efficient way for me to make the most the best use of my time here in the shop. Another question here: by logging and milling your own wood, the way I presented in the, I guess in the logging video, can I sell enough wood to have my lumber for my projects be free? Yes, yes I can. That is kind of my way of making this hobby profitable in a sense. The way that I was able to acquire the tooling behind me is by not spending money on project materials. So when I first started, I would buy, I think we just red oak at the home center, and that was probably like $7 a board foot. But as soon as I could afford it, I would go straight to rough cut lumber by buying a jointer and a planer, because that allowed me to save a lot of money in materials. And I can tell you what, the first jointer, I bought a jointer planer combo machine, those little benchtop ones. I think it was like $300, but that thing paid for itself pretty quickly. And you'll see the machines I have now are obviously a lot more expensive than that, and they've already paid for themselves too, probably many times over. So that's definitely a good route if you have the ability to go through and get your materials a little bit cheaper. You can spend the money more on your tooling or on other things you want to spend your money on. Let's see what other questions we got. Okay, Matt wants to know how much lumber do I mill per year, or how much lumber can we mill in a season. That really depends on the time that myself and Jim have available to be out there in the woods, gathering logs, and actually going through the whole process. Really, through a whole cycle, we'll get a whole stack of logs and then mill them, and that typically yields about 1,500 to 2,000 board feet on a milling day. So from all the logs we have, we spend one day with a sawyer, with a portable sawmill. He mills for the whole day, and we usually end up with about 1,500 to 2,000 board feet of whatever we had pulled out of the woods. What is my favorite tool? Hand and power tool, also from Matt. My favorite tool, I have a couple of favorites, I guess. My favorite type of tool by far is the chisel. There is just something about using that, because you actually have to have some manual control, and it's really a really versatile tool. You can do a lot with it if you can control it. Now, my favorite actual tool as far as hand tool goes is my bat axe saw right there. And for my power tools, it's probably going to be either my jointer or my bandsaw. I love my jointer. It's amazing. It's amazing the results you can get from a machine that is tuned up well and is designed to do a good job. Just when I first got that just changed the way I worked so much. Not only because it's 12-inch jointer, so you can joint a lot with it, but because it's able to get boards so well milled that it's easier to work with if you have perfectly square edges and everything's nice and perfect and stuff like that. And the bandsaw is also nice because it's so versatile. You can do so many things on there, and it's just you just keep trying more things, and it's always like something new you can do on there. So like in the coffee table build, I did the tendons on there, and that was the first time I had done that, and it worked really, really well actually. So it's, you can do cross cut, you can do rip, you can do whatever you want on there. So it's extremely versatile. Okay, Mark asks, what type of sharpening system do I use for chisels and plane blades? I use Waterstones. Typically, I just kind of hone them as I go. I have an 8,000 grit Waterstone that I use just for honing as needed. So for instance, if I'm doing something with a chisel or a plane and I feel that it's not really cutting as well as it should be, I'll just go to the stone real quick and actually just freehand the edge just to get that thing nice and sharp again and go back to work. If you do it often enough, you don't have to spend much time on the stones. and actually being able to do it freehand is not as intimidating because you don't have to do it. You don't have to do a couple strokes and you're good to go. So in 20 seconds you're back to work again. And then if I do have something where I need to do a lot more material removal, I actually have those honing jigs, those really cheap ones, those $8 or $10 ones that hold the iron at the right angle, and I also have a 800 and 4,000 grit combination waterstone that I use. And I also have a flattening plate for them as well, a diamond plate. Tyler asks, do you sell most everything you make? No, I really don't. Some of the things I do, or I'm able to sell. The walnut coffee table I did was a gift for a friend of ours. The only thing that I've shown on the YouTube channel that was for sale was that tea chest that I did back in, what was that, May or June. And with that, I think there was a question here that'll go well with this that Tomas actually asked, which was, have you done any paid commissions for woodworking projects so far? And if yes, what are my aspects on pricing, and am I able to deliver it on time? And with the delivery date and the end time calculated, was it worth the effort of the estimate, or basically was the final commitment as what I had estimated? So with going back to that tea chest, that was a commission piece, and I priced that based off of an hourly rate, and actually got pretty close. I believe I estimated that project at 15 hours, and that one came in at 17, so it was actually pretty accurate. The thing about pricing your work or knowing how long something's going to take you is really an acquired skill. You really need to be able to just know off the top of your head, like, how long is all these different steps going to take me. So in that case, how long is it going to take me to dovetail that whole case and then build all those drawers and build a lid and then build all the dividers. So with that, I could actually break it down and see, okay, this could probably take me somewhere in the 15-hour range. So that's what I went with. Okay, the next question here is, why did I begin woodworking? I began woodworking just because I kind of fell into it, I guess. When I was younger, or I guess when we were younger, Lindsay and I, we went to IKEA, and she wanted I'm sure you've seen them before, like little like cloth basket holders, where it's like basically just a shelf and you put the baskets in it. She wanted one of those, and I was looking at them like, this is kind of junky and would probably fall apart. So I decided that I would just build one. So that was my first project. It was just made out of plywood, and it had some solid wood trim around the top. And then from there, I just kind of kept going more and more and more. And I think that was about 6 years ago now. That was when I was in college. I didn't have a lot of money back then, so I did do the limited tool route. So I know what that's like. And basically, once I graduated from college, I had more money, and I was able to spend more time and more money on my hobby, which was woodworking. And I got a lot more serious with it, and that was about 3 years ago. And that's kind of where, all of this, fancier stuff came from, which was, the Morrison tenons, the handcuff dovetails, all the stuff you see making today is all from that kind of that starting point of when I started to really get involved and get building things in woodworking.
Or how much time do you spend in the shop?
Okay, another question from Matt here. Do you try to mill your lumber all at once, or just enough for each day to be worth the sawyer? So, yeah, basically whatever the sawyer can get through in that day, unless we have like a lot left over, we'll do like a second day. So we typically do Saturday. We'll go out there and we'll mill for the whole day, 8 till 6 or 8 till 5 or something. and the sawyer charges an hourly rate to be there. So if we get to the end of the day and we see our stack of logs and we see that there's enough logs there to do another day, then we'll have him come back, or just actually leave his mill there overnight, and we'll do it again on Sunday. But typically it's just a one-day thing. We really, I mean, you can, the funny thing about that is every single time you go out there, there's new trees to get because new things fall down, and it doesn't matter how long we spend out there, there's always more trees, there's always more logs to get. So it would really be a full-time job. We would have to spend all of our time out there getting logs every single day and then milling to actually make a dent in what's out there. So given our time and our schedules, we're just able to do it once in a while for a day, the milling. And the days we do log, or the days we spend getting the logs, that's usually, I think we usually do 2 days for every milling or something like that. It usually takes us about 2 days to get enough logs to make a day's worth of milling. Next question here is from Dylan. Are you giving away all those cutting boards? Or if not, how much are you selling them for? Yes and yes, I guess. The nice thing about having those things on hand is if we ever have to go anywhere that we need to bring a gift, we just grab one and take it with us. It's really great because you don't have to worry about it. And then the other thing with that too is people know that I make them, and so they come to me and they might buy one to give as a gift as well. I typically price my cutting boards by the square inch, and I usually go with 60 cents per square inch. That's just the number I came up with. It seems to work out pretty well.
Pretty good eye.
All right, next question for Kirk. That is, yeah, he does have a good eye. Are those Pennsylvania spice boxes on your bench by the computer monitor, and where did I get the plans from?
That was good.
That's a good eye. Yes, that's exactly what those are. So I think, what was that, 2 years ago I made those?
Yeah.
Okay, so 2 years ago I had this great idea that I was going to make a bunch of them for gifts. So I made, actually made 5 of them at once. There's 2 of them left over there, but I made 5 of them with the intention of giving one to Lindsay, which she didn't know I was making that one, and then I gave each of our parents one as well. And it was also my intention to give my grandparents each one of the boxes, but I never got around to finishing them. For the plans, just a second, I'll grab them here. So the plans that I used, or I guess I sort of put a couple of them together. So one of them came from the, I think it was August 2011 issue of Popular Woodworking. There's this one, and then there was an article in Fine Woodworking, the January-February 2008 issue, where they had another spice box in there as well. So basically what I did is I combined the plans from the 2 of them. I think it was I forget which way it goes, but the feet from one of them, I changed the feet from one of them. I put the OG bracket feet on because I like those better than just the standard bracket feet. I made up my own dividers, I guess, the arrangement of the drawers on the inside, and I took the molding from the Fine Woodworking article as well. So I kind of combined them and mushed them all together to make what I thought would be something interesting. So it's not period correct, I guess, but it is period inspired. All right, next question from Bernadette. Do you work full-time, and if so, how do you put 40 hours in the shop? Yes, I work full-time, and let's see if I can do the math here. So I get done with my job around 5 or 6, and then I'm down here until about, well, from 6 until probably 7 or 8, and then we have dinner, and then I come back down from whenever we're done with dinner, probably 9 till whenever, 9 till midnight and 9 till 11. every night. This is in the winter when I don't have anything else to do. And then on the weekends, if we're not doing anything, I'll be out here all day. So whenever I get up in the morning, maybe 9 or 10, I'll come down and I'll be out here all day until I go to bed, around, whatever, midnight or whatever. So, 24 hours on the weekend, and the rest of the time is divided throughout the week. So it goes pretty quick. It's not that hard to get 40 hours down here, which I like being down here. It's a lot of fun. A question from Jason. How thick do you prefer your stock, and how long does it stay in the kiln? I guess the thickness depends on what I'm doing or what we're cutting that day. Typically what I'm using, or we cut most of the time, is 5/4. That gives me a lot more flexibility to get it to whatever dimension I want. So if I really want something thick, like if I really want an 1.1/8 thick piece of wood, I can do that. Or if it's something really wide, it has a lot more room for removing any cupping that might happen in the drying process. As far as drying goes, typically we stack the lumber and it sits out for a while and dries just in the sheds before going in the kiln. So usually it's around 25% moisture content before going in the kiln, and then it'll be in there for about, it's solar kiln, so in the summer it dries faster than in the winter, but it'll be out there in the summer for maybe 3 weeks, 2 or 3 weeks or so. In the winter, probably a little longer, maybe a month or so. All right, question from Ted. Hey, Ted. Does a sawyer hold you responsible for blades if they are broken? Well, we have a really awesome sawyer, and no, he does not, which is awesome. It's just a fixed hourly rate, and he is out there working his butt off the whole time as well. So it's like having a whole another person and a mill there, and he doesn't charge us for blades if they break or they dull. There's no charge for that. He's really awesome. He's a great guy. And yeah, I think he usually goes through probably 2 blades. I think he usually gets about 4 hours worth of cutting before the blade dulls, in a good case, or the blade breaks. But typically it just dulls before it breaks, and you can get them resharpened. And I think they're $10 to get sharpened. He sends them out to Wood Miser and gets them sharpened for $10 or something like that. Dylan asks, do you have a shop tour video? I really like seeing other people's shops. I don't have one yet. I've been trying to clean up and get organized so I can actually make one and not feel kind of embarrassed about my space. But I can do one pretty quickly. I'll just do a quick pan with the camera. So over there in the first bay is my lathe. Start doing my turning. And you can kind of come around here. There's the tool cabinet.
Do you know how awesome
I love
your
you.
immune system is? Inside your body, special.
And keep spinning here past the tool cabinet. There's my drill press, my mortiser, my clamp wall, my heater. Keep turning. There's a secretary. There's my spindle sander, my lamp. There's the table saw, the L3 table, and there's the joiner. And we're turning completely all the way around now. There's the dust collector. There's my big soft box. And we're back to the lathe again. And my camera's all screwed up. But yes, I do intend on making a shop tour video at some point. I just need to get organized a little bit more. All right, question from Sebastian. What tools do you have and don't use or use less? My dovetail jig. I don't use that very often, as you could probably tell. What else don't I use a whole lot? I think that's probably pretty much it. I use pretty much everything like all the time. Oh, I guess my biscuit joiner. I don't use that either.
I bought you that.
I think it's it. Probably like the biscuit joiner and the dovetail jig.
Pause. You answer your baby.
Okay, Mark asks, what do you think your next big video build will be? As far as build videos go, I have a couple projects that I want to get started on that I think I'll probably do build videos on, and one of them is a new desk for my computer. So I want to do a big slab top desk, trestle, like a trestle style desk with live edge top. If you saw I'm sure you saw the video where I was out in the woods. At the end, I was pulling those large ash slabs out of the kiln. I think I want to make the top out of those. I just have to come up with a base for it. Most of the base designs that I've seen so far are kind of like some things, but I'm not really sure what direction to go with it. I know I want to have curved bracing on the trestle itself because I think that looks pretty cool. But other than that, I'm still kind of trying to figure out what to do for the legs and the feet of the table.
I just watched.
All right, question from Steve. Just watched my birdhouse video. How long did it take me to make? And you think it needs to be higher in the tree, huh? I think that took me about 4 or 5 hours to do. Most of it was trying to figure out how to cut that joint. I had never cut that was a blind mitered dovetail. I had never cut that before, and I was trying to wrap my head around how to cut that. And I couldn't find anything online where it was like something decent that actually walked you through the whole process. So I ended up just kind of looking at pictures, and then as I was thinking about it through the week, it kind of dawned on me that really all it is a mitered through dovetail with like just a mitered thing applied to it. So if you saw my T-chest build where the case sides were actually mitered on those corners, just picture that, but then picture applying like a veneer to it that's mitered. So once I got my mind around the fact that that's what it had to cut, but it's all integral, it really made it a lot easier. And I think it was 4 or 5 hours. I did it pretty much last night. I just kind of ran through it, but it was a fun project, and I really liked just trying out a new joinery technique. And maybe I'll climb the tree a little higher next time. Is there any style of furniture that really inspires me? I don't know. I kind of like a lot of different things, I guess. Excuse me. A lot of the things, at least a lot of the things that I've been building lately, have some kind of period flair to them. They'll have some component of period furniture, so most of the time it's going to be the way the doors are made, or the OG bracket feet, or something like that. I really want to make more of that, and I think that's a direction that I want to go more into with my woodworking. But obviously I've made things that are contemporary as well. The cool thing about the period furniture is that in itself is challenging because there's so many different things going on and so many different techniques that you have to kind of put together to get to that final piece, whereas something that's more of my own design is challenging the fact that you have to come up with a way to build what you see in your head, and that might not always be the easiest part of it. Once you have an idea in your mind, you really have to think about, okay, well, how is this all going to go together, all these different parts, all these different things. How is the wood going to move? Is it going to have to account for anything with expansion and contraction? And that's, if you look at the coffee table build, that's more on that side of things. I had that idea in my mind of something I wanted to make, and then just became, well, how do I make something, in my case, out of solid wood to fit that design? I figured this is going to be asked. What is my day job? So a few years ago, I started a company with a few other guys. Well, I guess they kind of started it and they hired me to manage it. We do healthcare records for chiropractors. It's a company called Backchart. My role there on a day-to-day basis is basically to oversee everything that's going on, to keep everybody talking and get all, kind of the intermediary between all different areas of the business, the support, sales, and then the product development. And the majority of my time is spent on the product development side, designing new features, or designing, I guess, pretty much all new features these days, but designing things that then the programmers can go and build, and then a lot of the times I'm doing a lot of the product testing as well. So that's what I do every day. Then I come out here. Does my wife make sawdust in the shop? Occasionally she does. Let's see, she turns bowls occasionally. I'll get her on that lathe turning bowls or making a pen or something. Earlier this year we built a, what is that? What's it called?
A chest at the end of the bed.
Like end of the bed bench chest drawer thingy. If you go back in my videos, you can see that. But we spent some time on here working on that together, and that was a lot of fun. And what else have you made?
That's pretty much it. That's a lot. I'm gonna make that table for outside.
You gonna make a table?
Remember? Dining room table.
We're gonna make a big dining table for outside on the patio as well. But you've been making stone dust outside with the patio, so not sawdust, but stone dust or concrete dust. Are you gonna make any big pieces for your backyard renovation? Well, yeah, we just talked about that, right? That was the main plan there, is to make a big dining table to go out there. So I'm thinking for that, kind of like if you've seen Mark Spagnuolo's rustic table or rustic outdoor table, something like that. I want to do one out of white oak, really thick with the big legs. Yeah, so I got to cut some wood for that. But Lindsay's going to help with that. Yeah. Are the cutting boards done yet? No, they're not done. Here's some right here. They still look pretty much the same. I have a few more to flatten, but they're getting closer, at least. Do I have a favorite project? A new one. When it's new, I like it the most. No, I guess I don't really have a favorite project of things that I like to do. I just like getting started and being in that first initial part of the project where you take your rough lumber and you uncover whatever beautiful grain is underneath all that furriness. And you can really you really have that vision, like, here's a rough board that looks pretty much like nothing, and I'm going to turn this into, whatever. And that's a really awesome experience for me. That's my favorite part of the project, is just getting started and just seeing it from that initial point and picking up the lumber as well. It's like, oh, this could be a good board, who knows? And then you finally plane it and you're like, oh, this is a really good board, or it's not. That sometimes happens too. Does my wife get angry when I spend too much time in the shop? Do you?
No, not really.
No,
Depends.
I guess not. Yes, apparently it depends.
It depends on what we're supposed to be doing instead.
No, we both have our own things that we like to do. I guess I don't know. It's kind of like the marriage lesson, I guess. Is have things that you like to do by yourself as well, but then come together and share that time and enjoy that time together as well. So I think we do a pretty good job of that. Do you think?
I think so. So far, so good. Do you have an Etsy storefront?
I do not have an Etsy storefront. Maybe someday. I don't really make. The only thing I could really put on there, I guess, is the cutting boards. But otherwise, I don't really make things that probably fit in well there. I don't think I could put a whole secretary desk on Etsy for a few $1,000.
No one would buy it.
Yeah. Okay, I got last question, and then I'm gonna wrap it up here. Do you have any homemade tools? I feel like half of the YouTube woodworkers are really into that, and the other half aren't at all. Looking around, I don't think I have any homemade tools. No, I don't think I have any, unless you count like jigs. But otherwise, no, I don't really have any handmade hand tools or anything like that. Yeah, no, I don't think so. Maybe someday. I would kind of want to try making something at some point. I don't know what, but maybe like a lathe tool handle or something like that would be kind of fun. Just to try. Okay, guys. Well, thank you all for coming today. I had a great time. Sorry again about that rough start. We had a little problem here. I didn't realize that there was such a delay on the show. So what was happening is Lindsay was watching it back here, and it wasn't actually coming up. And I was talking, and I was thinking, oh, something's not working. So I stopped the thing, but apparently you can't start it up again once it stops. So really sorry about that. I hope everyone found their way to this one, and I hope this was meaningful. I hope to do it again in the future. This was actually a lot of fun once we got going. So thanks again, as always. If you have any other questions, or if there's anything here that you wanted me to answer I just didn't get to, send me an email or send it to me on Facebook or Twitter or whatever. I'll get back to you. I'll answer your question for you. So thanks again. Until next time, happy woodworking.